It's the biggest collapse in UK gambling history, and MPs are demanding an inquiry into why the regulator didn't see it coming. It's left hundreds of thousands of customers stripped of the stakes and winnings they'd left deposited. On average, they've lost £3,000 each. Football Index was promoted as an investment opportunity. It called itself the stock market of football, and it called its clients traders. Yet it was regulated by the Gambling Commission. It called in the administrators on Friday. There was a huge buzz around the company, with a lot of online videos and posts about how to use it to make money.
In today's video, I'm going to be giving you a review of my first year on Football Index. I'll be going into some of the strategies that I've used to make a profit of £12,500, and I'll be explaining how you can structure your portfolio to give yourself a good opportunity at making a profit while minimising your risk when trading on Football Index.
Hi guys and girls, Thomas Moran here from Never Work Again. Today's video is going to be on the Football Index and how I made £17,146 in my first year. I just got here my screen of my portfolio. All these numbers here are buys, sells.
Hi guys, so on this channel we're all about making a side income through low risk betting strategies, and so I'm always on the lookout for the next great thing to utilise to make some more profits, and that's how I came across Football Index. So first thing to note is Football Index is legit. It's the world's first football stock market where you can buy, sell and trade footballers with real money. And unlike stock market trading where people don't really have a clue about the stocks, many people have great knowledge about football that they do not put to use.
Some YouTubers talking about making money from Football Index. So how exactly did it work? Dave told me about that. He runs his own courier company in Watford and he became a trader in 2019.
With Football Index, the idea is that you're investing in shares in different players. Those shares are going up and down based on the performances of the player or how often they're in the media. So my daily routine would be to investigate different players, how many games they're playing for their clubs, how many goals they're scoring, assists, different things, different actions that they take that mean that they would go up or down in value. Once you've invested in a player, you can then hold those shares up to 3 years and earn dividends off those players during that time. My routine would be to continually build up my portfolio of players in order to earn the maximum amount of dividends.
For someone like you, what was the appeal of Football Index over just, going online and betting on the outcome of a game?
With online bookmakers, they often gave very poor odds or they restricted your bets. Whereas with Football Index, you were allowed to invest as much money as you wanted.
So online on gambling sites, were you restricted in the amount that they would take from you because you were placing winning bets?
I have had occasions where I've won money on online bookmakers and had my bets either restricted or my account closed before.
Why did you think it was a safe place to put your money?
Initially, I started with small stakes and just enjoyed the product. And over time, I realised that it was something that was, in my opinion, going to just get better and better and rise. And the market started to grow, prices started to grow. I started to see some really, really good returns on my money. And at the initial point of starting with Football Index, they actually offered what they called the instant sell function, which was funded by Football Index themselves. So at any point I wanted, I could sell the player back to Football Index at a slight less percentage than I would be able to sell it at the going market rate. That always gave me the full confidence that at any point, if I needed to exit my position, that I could literally just sell up there and then.
Have you worked out then, over time, how much you spent and how much you got back or took out?
Yeah, my net deposits were around £20,000.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. I had dreams of building this money up over time, and I had an end goal of making enough money to buy our dream family home.
You talk about being a trader, of building up a portfolio, that they're all investment phrases of building your savings to buy a home. Did you think you were an investor rather than a gambler?
Yes, I would say that that's how I felt. I was fully aware that this was a gambling platform, but the way that it was sold and the terminology that was used was very much that of a trader and of a stock market. We felt, and I say we as the majority of traders felt, that this was a mixture of gambling and trading together.
When did things start to go wrong?
Up until COVID hit, everything about the platform was on an upwards trajectory. And then when COVID hit and a lot of the football matches were cancelled and people started to panic, not just in Football Index, but just in general in life, that had a knock-on effect. And then people were using the instant sell function to empty out their accounts and sell everything that they had.
Tell me about that again, that instant sell function.
The instant sell function was the way of us cashing out of our bet at any point. Now, that would often be 10 to 20% less than the going market rate for that player. So when COVID hit and people were worried about their investments, not just in Football Index, but in general, a lot of people decided at that point to use this function to cash out their bet. So you might have had people with hundreds of thousands instant selling their whole portfolio. Every time someone hit that button and sold their players, that would affect the price of the players in the market, and they reduced massively. So much money was taken out that Football Index had to take a decision to actually cancel that instant sell function at that particular time.
What did Football Index change?
Once they removed that instant sell function, that took away our safety net, and instead they wanted traders to buy and sell shares to each other. We could then dictate the prices of the market by either bidding for players under the price. So if a player, for example, was £10, we could now bid £9 for that player. And I could also, if I own that player, decide to sell at a lower rate. So by allowing traders all the control of the market, it became a very dangerous place to be, because players' prices, instead of going up, they started to go down because people continually undercut each other until the prices began to fall quite dramatically.
Do you think that Football Index were honest with you about their own financial situation?
Absolutely not. And that's, I think, really is the basis of most people having a lot of money in there and keeping it in there, was that they had consistently told us that they were in a very strong financial position.
Now that the company has fallen into administration, where does that leave you?
We're not sure what the next steps are. We don't know the financial position. We don't know if they've taken this decision while there is still money left within the company and there might be some form of payout at some point, or that everything's gone and we're going to be left with nothing.
Do you think that the regulators had a proper oversight of how this company worked?
No, I don't think they did. And I think that's what's really let us down, is that as consumers, we expect the regulatory bodies to understand what they're regulating and what product they have in front of them. But I don't think they ever really understood that with Football Index, and that's what's led us to this point.
That's Dave from Watford. Well, we asked Football Index to come on the programme, but they sent us this statement instead.
We took the very difficult decision to suspend the platform earlier this month because we were overtaken by fast-moving events. Our decision to change the way the website worked was made on the best professional advice with the intention of keeping the business solvent. At no time did we knowingly give false confidence to our community. Our priority is to safeguard the interests of our customers, and we believe the best outcome will be to continue the platform in a restructured form.
The statement from Football Index. Richard Holden is the Conservative MP for North West Durham, and he's a member of the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Gambling-Related Harm. Richard Holden, what are your worries about what's happened with Football Index?
Well, I think there's a huge concern really around first of all, the initial regulation that went on, and secondly, the fact, as your guest, who has, very sadly looks like, may have lost a very significant amount of money. The terminology that was allowed to be used by Football Index, investing, trading, when all of this was, nobody actually had shares in any of these players in any way. It was all a theoretical, created gambling system set up by Football Index, which has now collapsed. It's really it's so important that the Gambling Commission now, as part of the review, are looked at in a whole-scale way, because we just cannot have collapses of this size with so many individuals across the country being impacted by it. It is a major, major concern.
We asked the Gambling Commission, the regulator, about customer funds that were left tied up in Football Index. It told us people use gambling operators at their own risk. It said operators licensed by the Gambling Commission must keep customer funds in a separate account, but there's no guarantee that customers get all their money back. It says its remit doesn't prevent companies getting into financial difficulties, and they say that when they license operators, they do look at financial circumstances, but they don't monitor them day to day. What do you say to that?
I just think it just sounds like a cop-out to me. We've heard that the chief exec of the Gambling Commission is now going to be standing down, but on the Gambling Commission itself, I think they've been behind the curve, not just on Football Index, but over the last few years. It's only by pressure from people like myself and the APPG on gambling-related harm that we're seeing the threshold at which people can gamble online raised to 18. It's only by pressure from without that we're seeing better regulation. It's only by pressure from, again, members of Parliament and the public and a huge amount of charities there to support people with gambling and gambling addiction problems that we're seeing this new review, which is being put through by the government at the moment. It took us a long time to get there, but now with this issue with Football Index, I think it just goes to show that there are a huge plethora of issues here around gambling that were exploded by the 2005 Gambling Act. At the time, I don't think anybody really had any idea of how much gambling would take place then online. But we've now seen a shift that the majority of gambling is taking place online, and the lack of regulation is really, really disturbing. And it's seeing people lose huge amounts of money, and also being conned into the idea that they're really trading a product when it's a theoretical and created gambling system. And I think these are real problems that we have got to face up to very quickly.
Many of the traders we spoke to, they're young or middle-aged men who really love football. They couldn't get their bets on with online bookies because they sometimes won. Now, when this company ran into trouble, it changed its terms and conditions while these people's stakes were still in play. It's hard to think of any other consumers who'd be treated like that, isn't it?
You're absolutely right. And James Wilde and I, who's a member for North West Norfolk, on the Public Accounts Committee, we did a review of the Gambling Commission for the Public Accounts Committee at the back end of last year. And it was quite clear to us that this lack of redress for consumers is such a major issue. If you have an issue with your water or your gas, you can go to somebody. If you have an issue with your broadband, you can go to somebody. But if you have an issue with, and this is a real concern around gambling, people put a lot of money at stake potentially in these areas, and there is very limited redress. There's a plethora of basically industry-owned means of redress, but they're just not independent. One of the things that we're really pushing for now, and has to be part of the Gambling Act, is a proper gambling ombudsman, so that people know that there is somebody independent they can go to get redress. It's an absolute disgrace that isn't in place at the moment and wasn't thought of back in 2005 as something so necessary, but it's something we've got to get in place now.
Richard Holden from the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Gambling-Related Harm. Thank you.